What's up, Munga Boards? We're back again, and it's time to dive into another Pixels AMA. Staying updated with the latest news and details is key, especially with Chapter 2.5 update, which will roll out next week, October 15th. Fingers crossed the team delivers on time so we can check out all the exciting new content. Before anything else, if you're new to this channel, please consider liking this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the bell button to be updated on my recent uploads. So grab that coffee and join me today as I share my take on the latest info that Heidi and Look have for us. This is Artdiced from BCH Guild, and welcome to my channel.
I'm going to demonstrate how to withdraw your partner. Now, some of you are skeptics from BCH. Up against the boards. Artdiced is back. You thought that my calculations are wrong. Medyo matasa. BCH #1.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's live stream. We have a very exciting announcement. So for those of you that are here, you're gonna get first access, first dibs on something very exciting. And then of course we have all of our regular updates we're gonna share with you. Luke's prepared our, the deck that we often share. And yeah, if you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat. And keep it farmer friendly. Let's be kind to one another.
I've been quite critical in expressing my thoughts during past AMAs, but we've always aimed to remain objective in our feedback. After all, our passion for pixels drives us to want the best for the game and the community. Criticism, when constructive, helps the game improve and evolve, and that's something we all benefit from. However, it's important to keep things respectful and productive. There's no place for toxicity in our community. We're all here because we share a love for pixels, and I hope everyone continues to uphold that sense of positivity and respect as we discuss the game's future. So guys and gals, let's keep it farmer friendly.
You can also comment on the live chat on Twitter, not the comments, the live chat, and we can see them also. And let's bring up Luke.
Hey everybody, excited to be here today. This will be a good AMA. There's a bunch to talk about today. So, we have a big update coming out next week, right? The October 15th update that we promised. There's gonna be some stuff releasing next week, so we'll talk about some of that stuff. We have to have a talk about reputation, some of the changes there that we're making. We have some cool announcements today too. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll also dive into some of the ecosystem stuff that we're working on too, because it is something I want to touch on again.
If you guys don't mind, I'm going to skip over Luke's Telegram game if he brings it up again. To be honest, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in. I know some of you might enjoy it, and that's totally fine. Everyone has their preferences when it comes to game modes and platforms. For me, though, it doesn't really align with what I enjoy about pixels or what I find engaging in gaming. So I'll be focusing more on the core updates that really catch my attention. But feel free to check it out if it's something that sparks your interest.
Because we have like a cool announcement today. I guess the announcement today, I guess I can just go and dive into it already. So today we're going to release early access to our Telegram game, which is super exciting. Here, let me pull up our slides. We can kind of go through the agenda like we normally do. So yeah, today we'll talk about the weekly updates that we normally have. We'll give you guys an insight into the kind of stuff that we're working on. We will go through reputation and the taxes today. We'll go through ecosystem plans, and then we'll go through landowner updates also. So yeah, it'll be a pretty busy packed AMA. We're going to probably spend some time today answering a lot of questions because I know you guys will have them, especially around reputation, around the new tax system that we're introducing. And yeah, let's just dive into it. So here we go. Reputation. I think that's the first thing to talk about. So yesterday, we rolled out a couple of new systems, right? We started to show you guys our new reputation system, and reputation is something I'm really excited about because it plays into all of the stuff that we're talking about, right? So it plays into Chapter 2.5, it plays into ecosystem, it ties in with Telegram, it ties in with some other stuff that we're releasing too. Reputation is one of those systems where we're finally starting to make it a little bit smarter. So what we rolled out yesterday, and we ended up rolling it back because we needed to fix a few things first before we go completely live with it, is this new reputation system. Some of you got a sneak peek at what some of your new reputation scores will be. And you can see that we... No?
It was wrong yesterday. People are going to think that was...
If you've been keeping an eye on the patch notes, you probably saw that on October 8th, they released an update for the new reputation system. Unfortunately, they had to roll it back due to a bug that popped up. It's always a bit disappointing when things don't go as planned, but these issues are part of the process. The team has assured us that they'll release it again once the bug is fixed, likely in the upcoming weeks. My guess is that they'll just bundle it with the Chapter 2.5 update, which makes sense. Might as well make sure everything runs smoothly together instead of rushing it out separately. Hopefully, this next release will go off without a hitch.
It was wrong. So what was wrong about the reputation yesterday was basically some of you were not getting the reputation that you were supposed to be having. But what a lot of you guys saw was your reputation scores also increased a ton. So what we started to do is we started to basically introduce new ways to increase your reputation. So there's a few things that will now increase your reputation that didn't before. Things like owning NFT land, and actually a multiplier for more NFT lands you own, you get more reputation. Things like VIP, if you own a Pixels pet, if you've completed quests, if you participated in events, connected socials, if you played the game, or if you own integrated avatars too. We started looking at that. We also look at some other cool stuff when it comes to the reputation system. Now, here is maybe a good point that we need to talk about, right? We want to kind of like do, and the goal of reputation is basically we want to make it so that real players are able to get reputation a lot easier. So basically, if you've been doing stuff on chain, that's one of the easiest ways for us to see if you're a real player, right? So an easy way to identify a bot, and there's a couple of different things that we need to be looking at, and there's some nuance here, right? So there's kind of going to be some stages to the reputation rollout. Is, for example, if you've done anything on chain before, like if you hold like a pixel balance, if you hold, if you've deposited pixel inside of the game, some things like that, we have a better idea that you're probably a real player, right?
I really love the idea of earning reputation points based not only on your Pixels account, but also through your overall wallet activity. It adds a new layer of depth and recognition for players who are actively engaging in the ecosystem. Imagine if other platforms like the Ronin network adopted a similar concept. Every time you participate in Web3 games or hold NFTs, your wallet could accumulate reputation points. These points could then serve as a universal metric across multiple games to verify if you're a legit, committed player. It's a way to showcase your credibility and dedication, not just within a single game, but across the entire Web3 space. This could open up all sorts of possibilities for exclusive content, rewards, or even in-game perks for those with a solid reputation, creating a stronger sense of achievement and trust in the community.
Bots, what they'll do is they'll spin up thousands of wallets, and they have no on-chain activity. They're completely fresh, and it's pretty easy to spot that. So we're actually going to make it harder for basically a fresh wallet and the fresh account in the early stages to like get the reputation that you need. But if you are a player who's been playing other games, this kind of stuff, this is the stuff that we're going to start to add on to reputation. So basically, we can start to increase the trust of users who haven't played our game before if they have some kind of on-chain history, right? There's a bunch of other stuff that we're doing here too. There's some of the reputation side of things that'll be visible to you guys. There's also some back-end stuff that we're doing too that we're not going to make completely visible to you. So some of the stuff that we started to introduce is like the segmentation tech that we've been talking about in this new reputation system. And basically what we can do is we can start to figure out like who the different types of players are inside of the game. Like, for example, if you're a grinder, if you're an event person, if you make a lot of UGC, we can start giving you reputation points based on that kind of stuff too. The whole end goal with this system is to basically make it again so that if you're a good player, you have access to all the features inside of Pixels that we want you to have. Like, for example, like trading in UGC is an amazing meta that's popped up inside of Pixels in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I love what's happening there. I think we're becoming like a really proper cozy game. And
Since we're on the topic of UGC, let me take a moment to showcase my latest creations. I wasn't able to include them in my previous video due to some editing errors, but I'm excited to finally share them with you now. First up, I've got the Hoot Guardian, and alongside it, the Fallen Hoot. These UGCs are part of my personal tribute to the Barn Owls NFT collection, which I've grown really fond of. If any of you are interested in owning one, there are a few options. You can check out some active giveaways from our fellow guildmates on X, or you can find them available for purchase on the market. I know the prices can be a bit steep for some, so if that's the case, feel free to DM me on X. I'm happy to offer a cheaper price for anyone who wants to add these pieces to their collection. I just want to make sure they find good homes with people who appreciate them as much as I do.
I think that's actually probably some of the best like play style and meta that I've seen in a little bit, right? People's specs are getting awesome. People's lands are getting awesome with all the decorations that they have. I love seeing that. And that is not the activity that we're trying to nerf. Like that is actually the kind of activity that we want to make way easier for players who are participating in the game to like participate in. And the other thing that ties into this too is the transaction fees that we started introducing too, right? So one thing that we also are trying to do is we want to make it so that basically bot accounts are getting taxed on coins a bit more too. So when we think about coin inflation, chapter 2.5 is really, really focused on coin inflation. There are going to be things inside of chapter 2.5 that don't feel really good at first. And the reality is, if we want to fix the game economy and fix how the game is, there are features like this that we're going to have to start to introduce. And transaction fees are one of them. So if you noticed, when we released some of the updates and patches yesterday, transaction fees went live. Now the transaction fees are pretty cool because they're going to be variable. And basically, as you start to increase reputation, your transaction fees will go down. And our goal with reputation is basically to make it so that the really good dedicated players have much, much lower transaction fees. But a bot account who is like very new to the game, they don't have much on-chain history or any at all. They haven't done anything like positive in the Pixels ecosystem. They're going to get much higher transaction fees. So basically, it's a way to it's a way to kind of basically tax bots and then really, really put a dent into the coin inflation that way. So the whole idea here that we want to do is we want to basically make it so that real players are less affected and bots are much more affected. And reputation is the way that we need to do this, right? So on our end, what we have to do is we have to do a little bit of fine tuning with the reputation system to make this work, right? It's going to take some time to actually nail it down perfectly. But if we basically push out reputation and the majority of our users are unable to access the features that we want, like trading, all of this kind of stuff, then we've failed on reputation basically. And that's the kind of stuff that we're gonna be tweaking.
This change in transaction fees is a crucial step toward discouraging bot farmers and extractors from exploiting the system. By adjusting these fees, the team is trying to strike a balance between rewarding genuine players and reducing the impact of bad actors. However, like with any significant change, it will take time to perfect. There will likely be some trial and error along the way, and new issues might arise even as they address the current ones. That's just part of the process of refining a complex ecosystem. So, I hope we as players and supporters can exercise patience and understand that these adjustments are for the long-term health of the game. It's important to remember that creating a fair and balanced environment takes time, and our continued support and feedback are key to making these changes successful.
And adjusting really quickly. Now, note on reputation also, there are kind of going to be two ways that we have to like go and roll out reputation. So the first part of reputation that we're focused on is with our existing user base, right? So that means that we're going to have to look at things like your previous quest and kind of get you up to the reputation that we want. And we already have all the tells, like the data that we need to make sure that you're there. That's the goal with the reputation system. So if a lot of real users are getting blocked from the actions that we want them to do, which is trading, it's playing the game, right? We're not trying to make it so that you can't play the game. We want to make it so that your experience is basically the same as it was before. But now we tax more of the bots and like the bad people inside of the game and ecosystem, then that's the end goal here too. So transaction fees are one of the first features that we're releasing for coin inflation. This should put a pretty big dent into it. And we're really excited about what this is going to do. So we're probably going to roll out this reputation fix and update with this bigger release on October 15th. And here's the game plan for how we're basically going to be releasing. So we have the first update of chapter 2.5 on October 15th. And then we're gonna try, I'm gonna push for weekly updates, but it'll probably be realistically bi-weekly updates that are gonna be pushing out bigger features. So these are things like new task board. We have a new feature that we're working on that's going to add some more end game content like merchant ships. We're going to be working on things like industry limits. Basically, Chapter 2.5, the intention behind it is basically to make sure that we fix some of the game economy, and then we can start to focus on more of the fun features. So once Chapter 2.5 is done, then we can start to work on more of the fun stuff. But basically, Chapter 2 is in the state where it's broken enough where we had to spend some time fixing all of this. And let me tell you, it was not an easy fix. Part of the issue with Chapter 2 and all the changes that we have to make here, if I'm being completely transparent and like honest with you guys, is there was so much broken in it. And there's so many interconnected systems to fix it. Basically, anytime we change one thing, it affects this, and it affects this, and it affects this. The team is getting into a little bit of decision paralysis, but we're changing our approach now. Basically, the mindset is we gotta get scrappy and dirty again, like we were for all of Pixel's history, right? And what that means is we're gonna release some stuff that doesn't work right away. And the promise that we have to make to you guys and to ourselves inside of the team is we have to respond quickly. So we might release stuff that looks a little wrong at first, but we have to build trust with you guys, the players, again, that we will fix it quickly. So that's kind of the internal.
It's a positive sign that Luke has openly acknowledged the loss of trust from players due to the issues in previous events. Admitting this shows a level of transparency and self-awareness that not all developers display. What's even more important is that they're actively working to regain our trust and confidence, taking steps to address the concerns that have been raised. I genuinely appreciate their dedication and willingness to learn from past mistakes. It's clear that they're committed to improving the player experience, and that kind of effort goes a long way in rebuilding the community's faith. While it may take time, their actions speak volumes, and I believe they're moving in the right direction. Let's give them the space and support to make things right.
Message and the internal way that we're thinking about stuff. But it's what has to happen, right? So what we could do, right, is we could basically just like try to design the perfect fixes and get them right from the very beginning and delay features and like just try to like do all the theory crafting. Or we could take the practical approach and just be more cowboy again, right? And release, fix, update, patch really often. So when we say that we're going to do bi-weekly updates, that doesn't mean that it's going to be bi-weekly patches. And that's kind of the team directive right now. It's like, okay, bi-weekly updates, but when we release something, you got to be super responsive. You have to make sure that we're like following through with all the updates. The reputation update yesterday was a good example of the team getting back into that habit where we released something, it wasn't working quite as expected, and we rolled it back, right? So we're going to start to do more of that again. And reputation, when it goes live on the 15th, it's going to be there to stay. That's when we're going to start to do the really frequent updates to it, right? So a lot of economy stuff going on there. Now, a point that I want to make too on the transaction fees. So some people pointed out that VIP, we had said that the transaction fees will be 1% on VIP, right? So what we're going to do with that is we're going to respect if you purchased VIP and you have an active VIP subscription, we are going to keep your transaction fee down. So we said 1% when you went out and purchased it. It's not fair for us to change something that we promised when you went to purchase it. We know that some of you purchased VIP with that 1% in mind also of the transaction fees on the marketplace. If you have purchased VIP with that promise, then we're going to keep it. Now, moving forward, new purchase of VIP, that transaction fee will probably start to increase gradually, right? This transaction fee that we're doing inside the marketplace and trading and coin trading and all of that, it is really good for the game economy and probably the healthiest thing that we can do for coin inflation. And now, why do you care about coin inflation? Why does it matter? This is some debate that we've been having internally, right? Like coin inflation sometimes is honestly easier to stomach than a big nerf and a patch and an update like these sometimes, right? Like you see these transaction fees and it feels like a nerf, and like, but being honest, it kind of is, because the coin inflation is a little bit out of control in certain aspects, and we need to basically start to introduce these levers that the team can control to make this better. Now, why does this matter to you? It's because whenever you're in the game now, you guys see it. Things like the cost of energy starts to increase when coin inflation is really high. This amount of coins that you need to spend to get Pixel is really high. Now, how coins and Pixel and the task board work right now is there is a set amount of pixel that's given out every single day, right? So no matter how many coins are in the economy, the same amount of pixels given out every single day. Now, if we start to have less coins coming out into the economy every single day, that means that you're going to have to, like, gradually, it's not going to happen all at once, right? This is like, you guys are from Argentina, you guys know what this is like, right? There's a little bit of short-term pain, but it's going to be the right long-term decisions, right? And it's going to be the right thing for the economy health. It's going to feel a little painful at first, but eventually you're going to have to start spending less coins if we get the coin inflation under control, to get pixel every single time.
That's exactly why I'm not grinding the task board at the moment. Everything has become so expensive, it's almost not worth it right now. Take delivering 25 bedrock bricks, for example. Just that single task can cost you over 100,000 coins, which is a huge investment for a relatively small reward. So instead of pouring all my resources into tasks like that, I've decided to step back and wait for Chapter 2.5 to drop. In the meantime, I'm focusing on using my free energy to mine, level up my other skills, and stockpile resources. I'm also saving up as many coins as I can in preparation for the new update. That way, when the new content rolls out, I'll be ready to hit the ground running without worrying about being short on coins or materials.
The end goal here, right? So there's a few things that we're going to be doing too, in addition to that, to also look at this, right? So coin and energy purchasing is one of the things that we're really actively focused on, and it ties in with the wineries and grills, right? So there's this whole energy economy inside of the game, and this is something that bots took over a little bit at one point, right? So we're going to have to make some changes to how coin and energy purchasing works. Basically what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to introduce energy that you can purchase, like wine and other thing like that, directly from pixels. So we're going to kind of cut out some of the middlemen there, right? But what this also means is we have to change how wineries and grills work a little bit too. This has been like a lot of the debate that's been like blocking and slowing some of this down, because it's like, okay, if we do this, then it affects this, then it affects this, then it affects this. But basically the idea here is we have to remove the public winery from Terravilla. I think that's pretty generally agreed on. That's been the most abused little section of Terravilla since Chapter 2 has come out. And we're going to start to move some of the meta to single-use industries for energy creation again too. So grills are probably going to switch to single-use also. That's going to be a big meta change, right? But what this allows us to do is this allows the team to have much finer tuned control over the energy output inside of the game every single day, right? So essentially, this was the whole point of Chapter 2 when we did it, and we kind of missed on this particular part of the game loops when it came to energy creation, right? When you can have 1,000 accounts sit at the Terravilla winery and continue to make wine. It's going to make the price of wine a little bit cheaper, right? But it's the bots that are taking a ton of the coins then, and then selling it OTC and making a lot of the coin inflation problem worse. So it's one of those like necessary things that we have to do there. But then what this also starts to introduce is like more of the meta towards grills and wineries again too. And then we can actually really control, if they're single use, the amount of energy.
One of the biggest turnoffs for many players when Chapter 2 launched was the nerfing of the grill recipes. In Chapter 1, grills served as a valuable alternative energy source, which played a crucial role in keeping the in-game economy balanced, particularly preventing the skyrocketing prices of wine. Many players relied on this strategy to maintain their gameplay efficiency. I hope some of you held onto your grills. I personally saved 4 and have been eagerly waiting for the return of the grill meta. If it makes a comeback, those who kept their grills in good shape will be well prepared to take advantage of the meta shift once again. Here's hoping it resurfaces as a viable strategy soon.
Coming into the game through these industries every single day, right? Then there's some other things that we talked about too with industry limiting. So I think what we're actually going to do here is we're going to start to introduce industry limits onto NFT lands again. I think we want to do it by industry type. I think that's what we've decided. So basically we're going to make it so you can only put on like 5. These are not the right numbers. So this is the one little blocker before we actually get this out of like how many industries do we have on each land. But it might be something like, only 10 mines, only like 20 trees or 50 trees, only 60 plots of soil. This is the kind of feedback that we'll need from you guys. But basically when we start to introduce these changes, the Pixels economy is much more in the Pixels team's hands again, and that way we can actually start to introduce new meta changes that we can control and that you guys will have a better experience for.
The upcoming industry limitations could potentially slow down our leveling progress. If this proves to be the case, we still have until October 15th to make the most of the unlimited industries that are currently available. Once Chapter 2.5 rolls out, the introduction of industry limits and cooldowns will change the dynamic significantly. This means we'll have to revisit multiple lands to use industries, with longer waiting times before we can access them again. The freedom we've had so far to continuously harvest and craft without restrictions will be curtailed, and timing our activities will become more important than ever. To maximize our efficiency before these changes take effect, it's wise to take full advantage of the current setup while we still can.
Now, all the stuff that we're doing here, again, it's like a little bit of pain that we have to introduce inside of the economy in the short run, but it should make it feel better. Our end goal here is we want to make it feel like it's worth getting coins. Like, we don't really want to make it so that you feel like you have to go out and buy coins from somebody else to play and participate and keep up inside of the game. Right now, that's not really good meta that's happened, right? Like, if you guys want to be competitive in the task board right now, what you kind of have to do is you have to go and buy coins OTC. And that's not a great experience inside of the game. Like, we should just make it so you don't have to do that, right? And that's the goal with all of this. So that's where we're coming here. And then task board changes this too. So task board V2 will be coming out. Task board V2, there's a chance it comes out on the 15th. It might come out like the week after. But basically it's getting tested now. We have people going through it. And it's going to be really, really different. So what task board V2 is going to do is, one, it's going to make a lot more sense. So right now, you guys all know this, there's certain tasks that are really good to have. There's certain tasks that are terrible. Basically, they're all going to start to make sense and be pretty balanced moving forward. We had to do a full rewrite on every single task inside of the task board in order to make it actually work and be balanced. And we're also kind of like leveling out the coins too. So what's interesting about task board V2 is new player coins are actually going to be a little bit easier to get than before. Like, the first time user experience and the new player experience is pretty bad. Like, it's actually almost impossible to get the coins you need in order to like progress through the game and start earning pixel later inside of the game, right? If you guys are bringing friends into the game, it's not like a really good experience for them right now, right? These are the things that we need to do in order to hit the next stage of growth. So once we get all this under control, then we're going to start making more of a growth push again. What's interesting though is, so I think our active wallets are maybe a little bit down because of some of the bot stuff that we've been doing. Real player count from like all the metrics and proxy variables that we have, it's actually constant. It's actually grown a little bit this month too, which is good. I know it's surprising to me too. I saw this and I'm like, wait, I thought our real player count would have gone down in the last month or two for sure. It's actually constant or growing a little bit, which is great. I think it grew like not as much as we would love to see it. I think it grew like 2 to 5% in the last month, but there's some positive.
You need to show us the data, Luke. Where's the evidence? Where's the graph to back up your claims? Every time you mention that daily active users are increasing, it's essential to provide solid proof. Without concrete data or visual representation, it's hard for us to take these statements at face value. We're not just looking for reassurance, we need transparency and facts. If user engagement is truly on the rise, we'd love to see the statistics and trends to back it up. So next time, don't just tell us, show us the numbers.
Positives in this, right? So as soon as we start to get control over this, I could not give a crap about these botters, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I know it's interesting. Like, I have a little bit of empathy because I know there were people that were actually botting pixels full-time for jobs and now they're out of work from some of these bot bans. But, it's against the rules. It makes the real user experience bad, and it's not the right long-term thing to like cater towards these people, right? Like, I don't care about our daily active address number. What we care about, if you're actually thinking about like the metrics that we look at every single day inside of Pixels, is monthly revenue. That is the best proxy for real user activity inside of a Web3 game. And monthly revenue after token launch too is actually probably the best metric to look at. If you're evaluating other games, for whatever reason that you might want to be like looking at them, if you want to see like how well they're doing, This is a good meta and like a good thing to be looking at. So Pixels a year ago, when we started like to come onto the scene and started to get more attention, right? We proved to people that there were Web3 gamers, right? Nobody really thought that a year ago, which is crazy. Like if you remember the talk about Web3 gaming 1 year ago, everybody was saying the total TAM of Web3 gaming was like 800,000 active addresses. There's really nobody playing Web3 games. Web3 gaming's market's super small. Pixels came onto the scene and kind of proved people wrong with that, right? We showed that no, Web3 gaming is viable. There are people that want to play.
Looking back to when Pixels hadn't yet migrated to Ronin, I believe a large portion of the Web3 player base on Ronin was essentially lying dormant, waiting for the next big Web3 game to capture their attention. Before the transition, many of these players were in a state of anticipation, but there wasn't much to draw them in. If Pixels had not made the strategic decision to move to the Ronin network, I doubt it would have achieved the level of exposure and success it enjoys today. The move to Ronin was, without a doubt, one of the most pivotal and positive steps the team took, and it has clearly paid off. The increased accessibility, faster transactions, and tighter integration with the Web3 gaming ecosystem have all contributed to the game's growth, making this transition a game changer in every sense of the word.
Web3 games, and the market's still there, right? Then we saw a couple evolutions over the last year now too. Hamster Combat came in and proved to people that no, you can hit really crazy numbers when it comes to daily active addresses, right? Then there got to be a little bit more nuance. Now people in Web3 gaming are finally like all around the space having the conversation about bots. It's like, okay, Hamster Combat had a lot of daily active addresses, but like how many real users were there? Then Catizen came on, and I think they started to prove some other stuff where it's like, okay, well, if just users and just addresses aren't the right metric to look at, what about revenue? And Catizen started making revenue before their token launch, right? I think they did like $22 million in revenue in like just a couple of months, which is impressive. But now the space is starting to evolve. If you're like trying to evaluate new token listings or what projects you should get involved in, where revenue pre-token launch and revenue post-token launch are very different metrics, right? And revenue pre-token launch, I want to say it doesn't count because it's like an interesting metric to be looking at, but it's not quite the same. Revenue post-token launch is really the best metric of like ecosystem health. And what's cool about Pixels is we've had pretty significant revenue post-token launch ever since we did that too. So that's gonna be the metric that we look at when we start to decide ecosystem health. And what that means is we have to build a good game that people want to be playing and they want to be using their Pixel tokens in, right? And our revenue month by month has actually been increasing, which is great. But there's a lot of work that we need to do to actually get to the point where we feel like this is the most sustainable that it can be. So yeah, Pixel revenue is still looking pretty healthy. Since TGE, we've been averaging about 2 million a month. I think last month in the last 30 days, we did something like 1.2 million. Let me get the real number on that and like confirm that later. But it's looking relatively healthy. And the things that we would need to do to increase this are basically to make the real user experience really good. And to make sure the first time user experience is good too, so we can start to bring in new players into the game and ecosystem. And we'll answer some questions about all this after, but I think this is actually a great tie-in to the other stuff that we're doing here too. So my image didn't show up. That's funny. We have Pixels Tap Track. Yeah, we have Pixels Tap Track in early access. We're releasing it basically now. I think it's out now.
It's live. It's live. So if you, I pinned to the top of the YouTube live chat. If you're not in it yet, join our Telegram group, and you can write /play. I think when you join.
So, this is their Telegram game, and as I mentioned earlier, it's not really something that catches my interest. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and skip over this part. I apologize to anyone who might be curious or excited about it, but if you're interested, you can always check it out later in the official AMA video. I've included the link in the description for easy access. Feel free to dive in and explore it at your own pace. I'm sure there will be plenty of insights for those who want to learn more.
And maybe we can dive into some of the ecosystem stuff too. is this is kind of establishing like the Pixels ecosystem. The Telegram game is interesting. We have some other stuff coming too. Hopefully I can announce like a really, really big thing in like the next like month. But we have some stuff going on in the back end, which will actually be like a lot more actionable on the ecosystem and a lot more exciting. We talked about this over the last year a good amount, and some of those fruits are finally going to start to like show over the next month. And this is, I guess, alpha if you guys are following, because yeah, I'm not sure how many people outside of like the Pixels AMAs even know what we're doing here. But that one will be a much bigger announcement. So anytime that we bring on a new game into the ecosystem, here's what we're thinking. Like basically the requirement is if it's in Pixels ecosystem, they have to use the Pixel token to monetize. We want to also share our login with Pixels. So that means you only need one profile between any game that's in the Pixels ecosystem. It'll be the same exact profile that you log in with right now. So basically, if you log in with like MetaMask or Ronin, you'll be able to log in with MetaMask or Ronin there, or social login, whatever it is. It'll be the same login, the same user profile between every single game. Now, this ties in with reputation too, because the reputation will be shared between any game that we introduce also. So that means if you have a really high reputation inside of Pixels and you were to do something like play Pixels Tap Track, if we want to give rewards to people based on reputation, your Pixels reputation actually works inside of this game. We might even do things like reputation multipliers or other things like that inside of prize pools. So there's some cool stuff there. Another requirement of any game in the ecosystem is basically we want most games that are coming into the ecosystem to share NFTs with like across games too. So a good example is if we were to release an app with pets, which is something that we're like pretty excited about. We're moving on. This isn't the announcement, but like, say we wanted to release like a whole native app around pets. It would use our pet NFT inside of that game, right? And another interesting thing that we're finally starting to move on to is staking. So when we think about ecosystem, we're going to start to introduce staking of Pixels. This is probably a month or two out, if I'm being honest, but it doesn't really matter until we start getting the ecosystem stuff anyways. The idea is we want to start to introduce incentives to stake Pixel, and it ties in really well with an ecosystem play too. Like for example, if we bring on another game inside of the ecosystem and it did an NFT mint, we would probably make it so that you had to either have like a certain reputation in order to get whitelisted for the mint, or stake a certain amount of Pixel to like get access to the whitelist as well. So there's cool things like that are happening, that this ties into the Telegram game, but it's like the first step of this ecosystem stuff that we're doing. It ties in with reputation. It ties in with all this chapter 2.5 stuff that we're doing with segmentation. It's pretty cool. So basically all the stuff that we're doing here in chapter 2.5, it plays into like this bigger thing that we're doing that all ties into the core game of Pixels too. So the idea is the core game of Pixels, chapter 2.5, all the stuff that we're doing here, when we're thinking about chapter 3, we basically want the core game of Pixels to be the focus. And Pixels, the core game that we have now, is what's monetizing, right? So it's building out revenue. When you think about the team goals and the foundation goal is basically to increase the use of the Pixel token as much as possible and have as many people get exposed to Web3 gaming as possible. So in order to do that, we need to build out distribution. We need to build out, use cases. We need to build out more experiences that bring people into the core Pixels game, right? So that kind of ties into like all of this stuff with reputation that we're introducing, and maybe is a good time to like dig into that. But maybe before we start to go into questions, because I know there's gonna be a ton we'll start to pull out. Will the high level players benefit from chapter 2.5? As you may be aware, there are many players now at levels 550 to 650 and has reached the point where there is nothing left to do in game. So yeah, that's what we need to start to do too. Chapter 2.5, what we need to focus on is basically most of the economy balancing first. And then there's going to be new features coming in chapter 2.5 also. Merchant ships is a good end game feature that we're going to be releasing.
I'm really curious to know how many of my viewers have reached level 550 or higher. Drop a comment down below with your overall level, and let's see how far you've all progressed. It'll be interesting to get a sense of where everyone stands. Personally, I'm not what you'd call a hardcore grinder, so my overall level is sitting at 407, according to the Pixels Game Assistant. I know some of you are likely way ahead of me, and I'm excited to see how your hard work has paid off. Let's compare our progress and maybe even share some tips for leveling up in the comments below.
It's going to be like the task forward, but it's going to be somewhat similar. But you're going to start to earn other things inside of the game too. And it's going to be larger order quantities also. It's going to be a cool feature that we're releasing out. So that'll be in part of the chapter 2.5 release. That one, it'll probably be more catered towards end game players. So where we're at with the game state right now is basically there are some things inside of Pixels that have worked well, right? But there's actually like a really big lack of end game content and chase content too. So there's stages to it. The first thing that we need to do is basically like fix the issues with Pixels, and then the team can get onto the fun stuff, the new stuff, right? But I will say there's going to be some new things coming to you that should hold some attention besides the Telegram game, and I hope we can announce it within the next like month. There's just some legal that we have to get through, and then we'll announce it as soon as we get the go ahead on the legal. Yeah, that'll be really fun when we get that out too. So here's some alpha. By like end of year, we'll probably have something compelling enough where there'll even be like a new NFT mint, all of this kind of stuff too. There's some stuff moving there, but I can't dig into that too much or announce any of that. But yeah, the idea here is, we need more things for people to want inside of the game besides just Pixel. So we talk about chase content a lot, but in order to actually get more things that people want inside of Pixels besides Pixel, we need more fun game features inside of the game, right? Before we can get more of the fun game features inside of the game, we have to fix the econ, and we have to make sure that the economy is good. So chapter 2.5 is mostly economy focused. There are some new features coming, and then the team will finally start focusing on mostly new stuff, because nobody likes to build out like economy fixes. It's not the most fun thing to build, but it's some of the necessary stuff that we need to do to fix the core game of Pixels right now, and then we can move on to the next stuff. Will tap track players have an edge over non-tap track players when it comes to the core loop of Pixels? So this is not confirmed.
I really hope that's not the case. I don't want to feel forced into playing a game I dislike just to gain an advantage. This trend has been happening more and more with some of the upcoming games on Ronin, and to be honest, I'm not a fan of it at all. Forcing players to engage with side games or other content they don't enjoy just to stay competitive can end up frustrating the community. Personally, I've always believed that developers should focus their energy on improving and refining the main game. A well-polished core experience will keep players invested far more than pushing them into other games they have no interest in. It's all about making the primary game engaging and rewarding on its own, without forcing people into unrelated content to stay ahead.
But like the kind of stuff that we think about with ecosystem reputation is like maybe at some point, if we feel good about the stuff that we're doing inside of Tap Track, like that might be a thing that we start to add reputation for. This one might not be the best example of adding reputation, but other things we start to release in the ecosystem would be good examples. So for example, if we released like a new app, and I'm obsessed with the idea of a pet app. Can't talk about that one too much. But if we release like a pet app and then you have like a high pet streak in that app, right? Then it could be a good way to like give you more reputation inside of that. That's how we view ecosystem, right? Where it also potentially introduces new syncs to Pixel and new things you might want to earn too inside of Pixel's ecosystem, that you might want to use your Pixel for. So that's the whole idea here. When we think about like what our goals and what our intentions are, we want to create a lot more fun experiences that get you using your Pixel or having you want to earn other things besides just Pixel and use your Pixel to earn them for.
Okay, some users are saying that, yeah, the Telegram group is private when they click on the link. I have no idea why that's coming up for some of you and some of you not. Just make sure you're using the right link. If someone said on the YouTube one isn't working, which is strange, come over to Discord and we'll send it to you there. I'm going to go comment the link also on Twitter. This live stream, I'm going to put in the comment section. Very strange. I'm not sure why it would say that. But yeah. This
is more on reputation. Shouldn't overall rep level be taken into account? I'm overall level 95 and I have a 7% tax because I've never done quest. So no, this is actually a big meta change to reputation, right? Like we actually want to incentivize non-optimal play or things that are not as easy to bot in reputation, and just overall level is actually kind of easy to bot, right? So with reputation, we need to start to pull in other things that are not as easy to fake, basically, to give you more trust inside of the game. So that is a reason to start to go to events and do quests and do other things like that, right? Especially the limited time events are really, really good ones for us to give out reputation for, or because we've sunset some of the old quests, right?
If you've watched my previous video about the October 2nd AMA, you might remember that I suggested rewarding reputation to players who participated in limited events. Whether or not Luke took notice of my suggestion, I still feel really good about it. This is definitely a step in the right direction toward fostering a more active and organic player base in Pixels. By incentivizing real player engagement with reputation rewards, it not only motivates people to stay involved, but also helps create a more authentic gaming environment. Hopefully, this move will drastically shrink the range of potential loopholes that bots can exploit, reducing their impact on the game. If this system is implemented properly, it could mark a significant shift towards maintaining fairness and encouraging long-term player participation.
We've done like a good amount of like bot removal on old users. Like those are things that we can start to give out reputation for also, right? So again, when we talk about reputation, there's like the old player experience and the new player experience. How we start to give out reputation to new players is going to have to change a little bit, and that's what the team is thinking about a lot right now. I will say we have a new first-time user experience coming. Hopefully that can go live on the 15th with everything else too. But that will be basically like all these new tutorial quests. So that's a good example of new things to do to give out reputation for. And then we want to make it easier to like not even have to earn reputation for some people too. One of the things that we haven't looked at yet, but we might start to eventually, is like, have you played games on Ronin, right? Like if you played Axie, we can give you more reputation. If you own an Axie, we can give you more reputation. The first step that we did with that was we started giving you reputation if you own integrated avatars. That's a pretty cool feature, right? Like if you own like a Pixel Cat, or if you own a Lazy Lion, this kind of stuff, we're starting to build your reputation inside of our ecosystem. So reputation has like two things, right? Maybe three things actually. Reputation, we want to look at basically all of the stuff that you've done on chain. We want to look at like the way that you play Pixels, and we want to look at like basically quests and other achievements that you had in Pixels too. So the quests and achievements, those will be really clear on how you start to like increase reputation. Like there will be pretty clear action items there. There also will be some hidden stuff in reputation also, right? So there's some data science stuff that we're finally moving on, which is really cool. And I think it's going to be one of Pixel's biggest competitive advantages when we have this all in. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're going to start to slowly roll out, slowly introduce more. The goal with reputation is that it shouldn't be a friction point. Like if you are playing Pixels regularly, like the goal is that you should have good reputation. If you are a new user with like no on-chain history and all you've done is level an account, your reputation probably won't be as good, if I'm being like honest and frank, right? Because there's a certain level of trust that we have to give you. So if you have bad reputation, what that's going to mean to you is that you're going to have to pay more taxes in the marketplace. You might not be as eligible for certain rewards, all of this stuff.
I've been wondering just how much they should consider taxing Grainbro, the top player in Pixels who, interestingly enough, has never participated in any of the events. It's a curious situation, and I can't help but think about how the game's economy could be affected by players like him who dominate the leaderboard without engaging in community events. Should there be some kind of tax or penalty for not participating, or maybe a system that rewards more active involvement in events? I'm just genuinely curious to see how the developers might approach balancing this kind of situation, where someone is at the top of the game but doesn't contribute to the event-driven dynamics of the community. It raises an interesting question about how best to encourage player participation while keeping things fair.
I hope rep for unlimited trading can still be changed. 3K rep to have unlimited trading is just way too much. And please don't listen to industries and NFT lands as what was said earlier. So what we want to achieve with reputation again is like if you have unlimited trading now and you're a good player inside of Pixels, like there were a few people on that reputation rollout, you were missing some of the reputation that you were supposed to have. Like you were supposed to be getting some reputation from previous quests that you did. We also like just had a bug where like, you know, almost 1,000 reputation points and some people were missing too. They weren't able to do unlimited trading, and they were before. The goal is we want almost every player who was able to do unlimited trading before to still be able to do that. But there will be a certain subset of users who haven't done some of the stuff that will not have it now. And those are more of the suspicious accounts, if I'm being completely honest anyways. Again, this is not supposed to be targeted at like the real and loyal players. This is more supposed to be targeted towards players who have been spinning up a lot of multi-accounts and maybe they haven't done all the stuff on their multi-account, right? Did it hit your head now that staking is crucial in all tokenomics? LOL. So I've had like actually like pretty counter opinions on staking for a long time. I have personally never liked staking for APR. And Pixels won't ever introduce staking for APR either. To me, that's just kind of kicking the can down the road. Basically, what you're saying is if you're introducing a staking system to get where you have to stake tokens to get more of a native token, is you're saying I don't actually have utility or things that people want besides this token inside of the game. And that's not the right long-term approach. What Pixels is trying to do most of the time here is solve problems the right way, which is so much harder. What we like about staking and like how I think about staking is, this is probably the way that we're going to implement it, is you stake for on-chain items. So if you stake inside of our game, maybe if we start to introduce more items on chain, like if we start to move apiaries and wineries on chain, that would be a good example of the kind of content that we want to give out to stakers, right? This only works when we have things that people actually want to be using inside of the game, or there's some demand for people to buy, right? Staking also can kind of be a trade-off of revenue in certain ways too, that we think it's probably more beneficial to have that as well. And there's other things when we start to introduce ecosystem where staking gets cool too, where it's like, okay, we know that we have some other stuff coming out. Like for example, if we have an NFT that we are going to be releasing with somebody coming into the Pixels ecosystem, that's a great opportunity to have a staking incentive as well, where it's like, okay, if you stake a certain amount of Pixel, then you get access to this, to like an NFT whitelist or something of value inside of the game. Ideal situation is we have more items on chain, and then we start to basically give out on-chain items for staking. So the goal of staking is staking it attracts different types of people, right? Like what we want to start to do is we want to start to engage people who have the token who don't necessarily play the game in the same way that a normal player would play, right? There's different types of staking that are involved. And like the mindset here is basically like, there's people who are kind of like on the sideline of Pixels. They like what we're doing, but they don't have the same time to play as a normal player, right? Can we start to create an incentive for them to actually put their tokens to work a little bit, but not with increasing emissions inside of the ecosystem, right? So is there other things that we can give them or other incentives that we can put for staking that would make people want to stake? And for us, what that means is chase content is a great one. But in order for chase content to work, right, we need one, first, the game economy to be balanced, and two, to start to get out more game mechanics that have this chase content used in them. So for example, if we wanted to release new industries right now, it wouldn't go so well until we have the chapter 2.5 updates out, right? Because introducing new industries when there's a ton of resource inflation doesn't really make those industries so compelling. When we start to introduce things that will make the resources that you earn worth more when it comes to coins and makes it feel more worth it to do it, then industries become a new great thing to start to introduce again as chase content. So yeah, a good example, and this is not confirmed, this is like not 100% the game plan, this is the way that we're thinking about it, is basically stake and then earn like a drip of potential like things you have on chain that other players might want to buy from you. It's pretty cool if we do that, right?
I don't see anything wrong with this idea at all. Honestly, I'd love the opportunity to stake my Pixels in exchange for access to other on-chain items. It would add an interesting layer of strategy and reward for players who are invested in the ecosystem. However, The issue I see with traditional staking models that involve APR is that they don't contribute anything meaningful to the actual gameplay. Essentially, you're just increasing the token emissions without creating new value, which can hurt the game's long-term sustainability. While staking can be a great mechanic, it needs to be integrated thoughtfully so that it enhances the game. If they can find a way to offer staking rewards that tie into gameplay progression or item acquisition without overloading the system with emissions, it could be a solid feature.
This would not be a land mint if we do a mint also, just FYI. Yeah, I can't talk about this too much, but there's some cool stuff coming. And I wouldn't plan on that until like December, to be honest, anyways. So that's kind of the intention of staking then.
Luke, you've said too many timelines today. We need to go back to
Yeah, I
not
mean,
changing.
these are not take like some of these rough timelines like super seriously. The timelines that you should take seriously are we gotta get an update out on October 15th. We said we would, October 15th or 16th. And then the regular updates for chapter 2.5 afterwards, the team needs to commit to bi-weekly updates, the bare minimum to get new content out and new changes. That is the commitment that we're making here. That is strong. We have to get that update out October 15th. We have to start getting like regular 2-week updates that actually move the needle every 2 weeks. So that's what we haven't done in a little bit, right? Chapter 2, we haven't been releasing as often as we had been before. And that's the team's priority. Basically, get the game into a spot where game economy is healthy. That way we can actually start like releasing the fun stuff.
Right now, go join. We just launched it. Literally at the, like right when this AMA started. So yeah, you can go play. Like Luke said, there's no rewards yet. We're kind of just this is like an early access kind of vibe check with the game. And yeah, with that, okay, so we have a few minutes left. I do have one thing I want to say, but do you have anything else, Luke?
Yeah, when will VIPs truly begin to feel like VIPs? Okay, I think one, with this like tax system that we're introducing, if we bring VIPs back down to 1%, again, it might change for future VIPs. It probably will. Future VIPs are going to roll up the tax that they have to pay still. But I think you guys are going to feel pretty good having like a very low tax and transaction fee with VIP now. It's going to be a really, really big advantage. So much so where like our game economy team was really pushing back against this. But we made a promise. It was written down where VIPs have a 1% transaction fee. So it's really, really favorable for right now. Hopefully that'll feel good.
I would really love to see them expand the range of benefits for players who purchase VIP beyond just offering reputation boosts and reductions in transaction fees. While those perks are nice, I think there's a lot of potential to add more value and make the VIP experience more enticing. For example, they could introduce a bundle system where purchasing VIP not only gives you those existing benefits, but also includes a package of in-game items like exclusive tools, food, or energy boosters. These additional items would make the VIP package feel more substantial and worth the investment, giving players more tangible rewards for their purchase. Adding variety to the VIP offerings would increase its appeal and provide greater incentives for players to subscribe, ultimately enhancing both player satisfaction and long-term retention.
Rep for Barney's Bazaar will go live with the reputation update. Appreciate the patience there. Will you keep your reputation from chapter 1 and chapter 2, or will something be taken away from us? So most people, like 90% of people at least, should have their reputation increased. There might be a few edge cases where some reputation decreases. But again, if you have a good reputation right now, like most people saw theirs bump significantly. Some people saw it go down. If you saw it go down, there was probably a pretty good chance that that was the bug that we're talking about, where a lot of people actually were supposed to have significantly more reputation than we showed them in that update yesterday. So I wouldn't worry too much.
All right. Anything else you wanted to go through?
Give additional rep on the max specs because we deserve it. We spent pixels on that. It's not a bad idea, to be honest. That I will say that is the kind of
Pretty
action.
cheap, though.
Yeah, that
I
is the
will
kind of
say.
action that like we probably should be giving reputation for. I'm not going to commit to it on an
Mhm.
AMA without thinking about it, but like that is the general stuff that we probably want to be giving reputation for as well. Say, so I will take that to the team. That is probably a good one to do.
Yeah, someone else said like getting UGC approved, which I like the idea, but I just know UGC is going to be spammed if we do that. So we'll think about it.
It's almost certain that the system would get spammed if gaining reputation only required UGC approval. That said, I believe instead of just approval, minting UGC should come with a reward of reputation points. Since players are required to spend a minimum of 100 pixels to mint 100 pieces of content, there should be some recognition for that level of commitment. Not only does this incentivize creativity and player-driven contributions, but it also helps maintain a sense of value within the game's economy. If reputation points were tied to minting, it would discourage spam while encouraging higher quality content, as players would be more thoughtful about what they create. This could also lead to a more vibrant marketplace for UGC, where players feel rewarded for their time and effort, making it a more meaningful aspect of the game.
About it.
When we give lands for the Barney's Bazaar event, we'll get that done by end of week. Apologies for the wait on that. I think that's my fault. I'm the only one with the multi-sig access there, or not the only one. There's more people there, but I'm the one that like leads the transactions there.
Okay. All right. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. And this is a good one too. There should be more than VIP needed for just the best tax bracket. Yes, that's where it's going to be going in the long run. What we already promised is a certain tax bracket for the VIP people that purchased it now. Now, future purchases of VIP, that will not be guaranteed. Like the future baseline tax is going to stay up for everybody, including VIP. So it'll be a combination of VIP and the other reputation in the future. And when I say future, I mean like if you buy VIP next week, we're probably gonna start that, right? So the people who have VIP now, you guys will stay locked into that tax rate that we promised and wrote down. But future VIPs will probably have a higher tax rate. Oh, and this is a good one too. When Guild Crop Wars S2. So Guild Crop Wars, that's getting like a whole redesign, which is cool. It's going to be ongoing and it's going to be season based and it's going to be a lot less intensive. Essentially how it's going to work is it'll be open for like a couple hours a day tops when we do it, maybe even only like a couple times a week, a couple hours a day, and we're going to add up your scores over like the course of a long time. And yeah, Jinzo, there's so many good questions about this. I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit longer, but I think this is important to bring up. VIP for best. Yeah, I agree with Lou. VIP for only best tax bracket does sound more like it's about maximizing revenues. No, that's not really what it is. So VIP will not guarantee best tax bracket in the future, but if you already purchased VIP, we don't want to go back on that promise of the low tax bracket like we already said. So we kind of have to stick to the promise if you've already purchased it. Future purchases of VIP, the tax bracket will go up. Basically, the VIP will add reputation. There might be like a couple other perks there too, and the reputation will be what determines tax bracket.
Just to clarify and repeat what Luke mentioned, as I know some people are having a bit of trouble grasping the details. If you've already purchased VIP, your tax will stay at 1%, so nothing changes for existing VIP members. However, for any future VIP purchases, the tax rate will be variable and will depend on several different factors, as explained earlier in this AMA. These factors weren't fully laid out in this part, but if you missed the earlier discussion, I recommend going back to review it for a clearer understanding. If you still have any questions or feel confused about how this works, don't hesitate to drop your queries in the comments below. I'll do my best to respond and explain further as soon as possible. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page before making any big decisions regarding VIP purchases.
Okay. All right. Okay, yeah, so I have one other thing, but I have to like read it because I had to write it out because it's in Spanish. Okay, so give me a second. So, para nuestros jugadores españoles, si vives en Buenos Aires, haremos una fiesta la próxima semana. envía un mensaje a Hontao de Moku en Twitter. ¿Cómo se dice en español? Twitter, X. Si quieres un boleto, será un pequeño evento y it's todos.
There's going to be an event in Argentina in person. Hantao
In
is
Buenos Aires next week for our English folks. We are hosting a small Pixels event in Buenos Aires next week. Actually, Hontao from Boku is hosting it. So if you want to go, you can DM him on Twitter.
Obviously, you speak nice Spanish.
Thank you. I've been learning for a while, but I did have to use a translator because some of that stuff was beyond my skill set. But yeah, so I'm really excited about this. So, and then Luke and I are obviously going to a bunch of events. Luke and I will not be at the one in Argentina, unfortunately. One day, we'll be there one day. But yeah, there's some really fun stuff coming. So amazing.
Yeah, so staking's not live yet. We probably won't go live with it for like a month or two, but it won't really matter anyways, because like if we go live with staking, it's not going to start to matter until we start to bring out some of this ecosystem stuff. So the first staking utility will probably be a whitelist mechanic for something that we do. Just putting that out there.
Don't make fun of the way that I pronounce things, guys. I am not good at Spanish. Anyways,
don't break us on October 15th, bro. Please, no more extension. It's way too long of waiting. We know, we feel you guys' pain. The team feels it too. Like, it's funny because, you know, you guys are the ones playing and like feeling the pain, but we also have to deal with a lot of people that are angry at us too. The motivation's good. I love building in public for that reason. I love adding the pressure on us too. The pressure is what builds diamonds, right? So yeah, that's part of what we have to do too. So
pressure is what builds diamonds. I absolutely love that quote. So I guess it's time to apply a little more pressure to the team, right, boards? Joking aside, I'm with all the other players who are hoping everything goes smoothly on October 15th. There's a lot of anticipation building around this, and we all want to see things unfold without any hiccups. The one thing I dislike the most about the Web3 space is the frequent delays, and I really hope that doesn't become a recurring issue here. Delays can kill momentum and frustrate the community, especially when expectations are high. It would be great if the team can stick to the schedule and deliver as promised. Fingers crossed that everything stays on track and we can avoid the dreaded last-minute pushbacks that tend to plague these types of projects.
Update coming October 15th or 16th. And then we're going to start to consistently update too. We have a lot of stuff that's been done now and like developed. Now it's just kind of getting this all out and making some last-minute tweaks on all of it. And we should have like some more consistent updates coming. That's the goal here. Okay, sweet. Well, I think we got through a lot on this AMA today. How are we feeling about everything? Are we excited about chapter 2.5? Are we like on board with the reputation? Do you guys understand about the ecosystem stuff? Let us know, give us some feedback. You guys give us feedback a lot, which again, it's really appreciated. Apathy is way worse than like comments. We know that most of you guys comment on stuff like this because you guys care. And if you guys didn't care, that's like the worst thing, right? So yeah, we really appreciate all of you. Like, never feel afraid to comment stuff. Never feel afraid to never feel afraid to like post some stuff about Pixels, right? It helps make us all better. I think you guys are all bought into what we're doing here. And yeah, these changes over the next couple of weeks, again, there's going to be like some stuff that doesn't go right at first, which you guys that's the deal that we're making, right? If you want us to release some stuff, you have to be okay with us releasing some things that aren't right away, and then we have to be able to tweak it, right? So our commitment to you guys is we'll be really responsive to the tweaks, and the team is still working really hard. So appreciate everybody here.
This is one of the main reasons why I'm fully invested in Pixels. In all my years of experience in the Web3 space, I've never encountered a development team as dedicated to open communication as the Pixels team. They consistently hold weekly AMAs, something that's rare in the Web3 world. Most developers offer updates sporadically, but Pixels stands out for its commitment to engaging directly with the community on a regular basis. This level of transparency and accessibility makes players feel heard and involved in the game's evolution. It's refreshing to see a team that truly values player feedback and is willing to answer questions, address concerns, and discuss future plans openly. I really hope they continue this practice because it sets them apart and strengthens the bond between the devs and the community. It's this kind of interaction that fosters trust and makes me even more confident in the long-term success of the game.
Awesome. Okay. Amazing. So we have an energy party tomorrow, which is actually celebrating the launch of Kevin. This kind of feels like a little bit of a full circle moment because when the whole Pixelmon Kevin thing happened and they were just going absolutely viral, you can imagine how many people accidentally tagged Pixels instead of Pixelmon. So it's kind of fun now that we're integrating Kevin. So we're going to be doing a Twitter space with their I think he's CEO, Julio. I've never said that out loud. Also, not sure how to pronounce that.
I love how it worked out. We're Pixel and they're Mon. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be a really fun little celebration. So that is tomorrow. Check your local time zone in our events calendars and on Discord. And then have fun playing the Telegram game. Give us your thoughts. And we have a really exciting, massive partnership thing coming out, I think, like next week. So very excited for that. And yes, there are some Halloween things in the works as always. Someone asked if we're doing trick-or-treating. That would have been really cute. We're not doing that. But that would have been really cute. I like that idea. Maybe next year. And amazing. And see Viven and Buenos Aires. Message Hontao. All right. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everyone.
And that's the end of the October 9th AMA. We've shared a variety of thoughts and suggestions about different aspects of the game, including features and mechanics like staking, VIP perks, reputation rewards, and in-game progression. One of the key ideas we emphasized is tying reputation points to meaningful in-game actions, such as minting user-generated content, UGC, or participating in events. We believe that rewarding reputation points can foster authentic player engagement and create a fairer, more balanced in-game economy. Offering reputation as a reward not only motivates players to stay involved, but also helps deter spamming and encourages higher quality contributions. In addition, we suggested expanding the benefits for VIP purchases beyond just reputation points and transaction fee reductions. Instead of limiting VIP perks to these features, we proposed introducing a bundle that includes in-game items like tools, food, or energy boosters. By offering a more comprehensive package, VIP purchases would provide greater value, making them more enticing for players while offering tangible rewards that enhance gameplay. We also discussed the importance of transparency in game development, stressing the need for data and proof when making claims about user activity. Along with that, we expressed concerns about delays in the Web3 space, the impact of forced gameplay on player experience, and the need to address bot abuse in a fair and effective manner. Our ideas focus on improving the overall player experience by encouraging more thoughtful engagement, offering value-driven VIP perks, and maintaining a balanced and sustainable in-game economy. Overall, our suggestions reflect a strong understanding of how game dynamics affect player engagement, with special attention to the importance of reputation points, VIP bundles, and player-driven contributions. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening to all my rumblings. I appreciate the love and support from all of you. This is Artdiced from BCH Guild, and I'll see you on the next one.
I'm going to demonstrate how to withdraw your partner. Now, some of you are skeptical from BCH. Up against the woods. Artdiced is back. You thought that my calculations are wrong. Medyo mataas na. BCH #1.